Hello and welcome to StratNews Global. I am Nitin Gokhale and I am honored to be joined today by India's new High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Gopal Baglay, who's taken over his assignment in Colombo less than a month ago and has already hit the ground running. Welcome to this program, Mr. Baglay, and thank you for your time.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon to you, Nitin, and very good day to your viewers.
Thank you. Good afternoon. In fact, let me start with the India-Sri Lanka relationship over the past 5, 6 years. And as I've seen and observed for somebody who's been to Sri Lanka a number of times and has observed the relationship, I think it is largely driven by the leadership on both sides, and particularly by Prime Minister Modi since 2014. It's in a sweet spot right now, given that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa was also here in Delhi on his first visit in November 2019. How do you assess the status of the relationship right now?
Well, Nitin, you are very right that this is a relationship to which the leadership in both countries attaches a very high degree of importance. Uh, and I would add here that there is a broad political consensus in both countries on the significance of this relationship, on strengthening this relationship. And since the time I have come here and I have heard this earlier also, but after coming here, I have experienced it myself. And there are two things I would like to mention to you. Uh, all the people I have spoken to here after my arrival or in the past week, I have been able to meet. Uh, it has been a common reference to the Prime Minister's visit last year after the Easter Sunday attack. Uh, just even for a few hours, he came here, and it was his first visit after the swearing in. In fact, today is, as we all know, is the first anniversary of his swearing in his second innings as the Prime Minister, second stint as the Prime Minister. And within a few days of that, within a week or so of that, he came to Sri Lanka to express solidarity with the people of Sri Lanka after the Easter Sunday attack. And that has been referred to by so many people here with whom I have had interaction. Uh, it is because they see that this as a reflection that India stands with Sri Lanka, India's leadership stands with Sri Lanka, and therefore everything that has been possible for India to do, we have done. We have done it together with Sri Lanka's leadership for shared security, for peace, for prosperity. And I have been even told that Prime Minister's visit last year was a very important factor in signaling to the rest of the world that Sri Lanka, which is a major tourism attraction, that tourists should be coming here, that it is a safe place to come. And in fact, after Prime Minister's visit, tourists from India and many other parts of the world sort of uh, continued their association with Sri Lanka. The other visit, which I have been mentioned a number of times here, is Prime Minister's visit on the UN Vesak Day 3 years ago as a chief guest. And that reinforces a civilizational link, religious link, the link at the people to people level. So these two visits I have been mentioned many times, and therefore when I started my movements where I could move around, my first endeavor was to visit these places. I or places associated with it. I of course went and paid homage at the Saint Anthony's Church, where these dastardly attacks had taken place a little over 1 year ago. I also visited the Ganga Ramaya temple where the Prime Minister had come 3 years ago. Uh, and I have found the links of Buddhism, the link at the people to people level. There is so much of desire to further build on these links and take this relationship to newer heights. There is commitment on the leadership in our country and also in Sri Lanka. The Prime Minister had a very good telephone conversation a few days ago with the President of Sri Lanka, and in which he mentioned, and I can only reiterate, India's readiness to work with Sri Lanka and render all possible cooperation and assistance in this situation, in overcoming the COVID-related challenges and in assisting Sri Lanka in and partnering Sri Lanka in the post-COVID economic recovery. So there is a very wide spectrum of areas, all spheres of cooperation in which there is desire on part of both the countries to partner each other ever more strongly.
Yeah, indeed. In fact, taking the cue from what you just said, Sri Lanka, of course, had recovered from that dastardly attack, and tourists had started coming back when the COVID again hit their economy, their tourism sector. And I think currently Sri Lanka is going through a major financial crisis in a way. What is it that India can promise, can help Sri Lanka in anything particular that you can share?
Uh, yes, indeed, Nitin, there are a number of areas in which cooperation is already underway, as you know. But for the benefit of your viewers, I would just like to recap that Prime Minister had in March, middle of March, 15th March, I think, he had a video interaction with the leaders of the SAARC countries, and India had taken the initiative to cooperate with all its neighbors in the context of the challenges posed by COVID-19. It's not only related to health, but also related to the economy. And a number of initiatives have been taken under that rubric. Bilaterally, also with Sri Lanka, there have been 4 consignments of medicine. We have also arranged for interaction between the health professionals of the two countries online in the context of management of COVID. And also, both countries have helped each other. Both governments have rendered assistance and have cooperated with each other for the repatriation of each other's nationals. More than 1,000 Sri Lankan nationals had returned to India, and yesterday the first batch of 170 Indian nationals, little more than 170, I think, left by the first flight under the Vande Bharat mission. And 2 days later, a large group of 700 Indians is to leave on board INS Jalashwa, which will go from Colombo to Tuticorin. So, in the COVID context, these are the immediate difficulties: the stranded people, the need for cooperation in the context of management of COVID and treatment and exchange of expertise that we have cooperated. Moving on to post-COVID challenges and other related challenges, yes, there have been difficulties in Sri Lanka regarding the external payment front. Many countries in the world have faced economic challenges. Our region is no stranger to that. There are certain requests which the leadership of Sri Lanka and the Sri Lankan government have also made to our leadership and to our officials. They pertain to currency swap arrangement. They also pertain to restructuring the repayment schedule of some of the loans which Sri Lanka is to repay. And I have been told that overall Sri Lanka has to pay a little over $4 billion of loan in this year itself. So these are of course areas in which we are working with the Sri Lankan government, and these requests are under consideration of the government of India. But I would like to add here just one more point, that we are not merely looking at these things in isolation. The, in the economic recovery plan, in the challenges that Sri Lanka has is identified for itself, we are very much willing to partner Sri Lanka in enhancing capacities, building its capacity within here, within the country, for example, in manufacturing. And in these areas, because India is a neighbor, India is not merely a large market for the Sri Lankan products, but also a country with which there is a good history of partnership in economic sphere and even greater possibilities and potential. We are very willing to assist Sri Lanka in reinforcing and developing its capacities in manufacturing of, let's say, pharmaceuticals, other products which are required for the economy, and that will also receive a major attention on our part. I today only in the morning I had an interaction with India Lanka Chamber of Commerce, and they have outlined to me what they would like to do. And I must say that I was very happy to see the enthusiasm despite the difficulties that the COVID situation has posed in the context of inability of people to travel. But I was very happy to learn that there are already online interactions ongoing between the business communities, the business bodies, the trade bodies of the two countries have taken the initiatives, and they are trying to overcome these challenges. They are finding ways to overcome these challenges and arrange for interactions, business to business interactions, as well as business to government interactions. So these are positive signs, these are very positive signals, and I'm very happy that there is a great desire on the part of the business community also to continue to work together with each other, continue to work with the governments of the two countries.
It's great to know that, Gopal Baglay. In fact, that also again brings me to another point that the Sri Lankans have been making for some time. I think that there are certain projects that India has some interest in investing, and also they would like India to take the lead in getting other countries like Japan and maybe Singapore and Australia to invest. For example, the tank farm project perhaps, or repairing the tank farm in Trincomalee, or the LNG project, some of those projects. Is there some kind of a movement there, some progress on those requests that Sri Lanka has? Because that will give them some kind of a boost going forward.
Yes, indeed, there are a number of commercial projects. There are a number of projects which can be undertaken commercially. There are a number of projects which are identified under some sort of an overall government to government cooperation, and within that, commercial companies can participate. Uh, they relate to infrastructure, they relate to energy. In infrastructure, there is a very important economic project, commercial project, which is East Container Terminal within the Colombo port. As you know, 60% or so of the business that Colombo port has in terms of transshipment is related to India, and Indian Eastern Seaboard is also growing very fast, and there are very important opportunities there for synergy between Indian capacities and the Sri Lankan capacities, and both are growing at the moment. So we have a very good opportunity there, as I mentioned. So there in the East Container Terminal, there is an existing understanding that can be implemented. We are working very closely with the Sri Lankan government. We are aware of the situation that Sri Lanka finds itself right now in, and we hope that this is a situation which will change for better. But for the moment, they have difficulties in accepting loans on their book. They have mentioned this to us, and we are trying to see how we can implement this project. They have also mentioned to us that they would welcome investment for East Container Terminal. As far as the LNG projects are concerned, there are two. One is the regasification and storage unit, which is a floating unit off the coast in Colombo, and another project is the LNG power plant. And on both of these, discussions are going on. Indian companies, which are very well known, private company for the floating storage and regasification unit, and a public sector company, very well reputed public sector company, is discussing with its Sri Lankan counterparts, and we are facilitating those discussions. We are trying to again here overcome the challenges posed by the travel restrictions and trying to arrange online interactions. There have been some progress. Some proposals have been submitted to the Sri Lankan government in the case of LNG power plant as well as LNG terminal, and there is a scope in the LNG regasification and storage unit for other countries also to participate. There are existing frameworks within which this can be done, and we again, the idea here is to leverage the strength which India has and which other countries have, and leverage what they can bring to this region when we work together with our neighbors and with also other countries, some of which you mentioned.
That's right. In fact, I think that's what they are looking for, because Sri Lanka considers this help from India as a very vital aspect in recovery from their current situation. But there are also have been traditionally and historically some wrinkles in the relationship, minor irritants if you want to call it, but they're there. The fishermen's issue, the some of those projects which they think have not been implemented at a pace that the Sri Lankans want. So what is the status there? I'm sure somebody would have told you about the fishermen's issue when you arrived there, or would have been brought up there. So just update us on that a little bit.
Well, the fishermen matter has been there for a number of years, and I would, if you permit me, I would just say that it is no longer a wrinkle, because there is an existing understanding going back to 2008, if I can recall correctly, and after that also various governments in both the countries have continued to implement this understanding. This is based on the humanitarian aspect of the matter, because fishermen are essentially, it is connected to their livelihood. It is connected to how we can address this matter. There is a good understanding both at the political level, and there's been good cooperation also at the official level between the two countries. So I am very happy to say that for number of years now, whatever number of fishermen comes across or is found in a manner there where they should not be. Both countries cooperate, the governments cooperate in their earliest repatriation, and therefore they are being sent back very regularly. It's been happening very regularly. Currently, just about 11 fishermen are here in Sri Lanka, and they were also slated to go back around the middle of March, and all their papers and everything was ready for their return to India. But unfortunately, the travel ban came into place shortly after that. And now I am happy to mention to you, Nitin, that they are looking forward to going back to India on board INS Jalashwa, which is scheduled to sail off on the 1st of June, which is day after tomorrow. So on that, there has been the return of fishermen has been quite regularly taking place as and when they happen to be here. As far as boats are concerned, we have raised the matter with the Sri Lankan government. There have been assurances also on that count that the boats of the fishermen will be released. Now, what happens is that some of the boats, because they have been here for a long period of time, they do not remain seaworthy. So the people need to come and inspect those boats. So that process had also taken place, and a number of boats had been released earlier, those which had been found to be seaworthy or which could be repaired and made seaworthy for going across the Park Strait. So again, this process was going on for the boats that are currently here. And once again, we found that the COVID-related travel restrictions need to be overcome. So when that happens, the officials will resume looking at these boats and doing what they can to restore whatever number of these boats can be made seaworthy and can therefore go back. So this fisherman and the boat related issue is really, I would say, has worked well. It is something which needs to be managed in a humanitarian manner, because it's essentially a humanitarian matter, and both the governments have dealt with it in that light for the past about a decade or so, and specifically in the past 5 to 6 years. There are, as you know, in any relationship in the international sphere, there are always matters which require to be addressed in mutual interest, in a spirit of mutual understanding and accommodation. And I must say that as the closest maritime neighbors, India and Sri Lanka have this good fortune that the leadership of the two countries has the political level commitment of understanding each other and looking at each other's interests and working in mutual interest of the two countries, of the two peoples. So really, I don't really see any major political issues, any difficulties. The task that I understand I have is to build on the synergies, to strengthen the already existing people to people relations, be it through exchanges, be it through pilgrimages, be it through more education, training that we cooperate in, or through the infrastructure development projects, whether there is a development partnership where we have over $3 billion commitment in Sri Lanka, or through the high impact community development projects, which are the small gestation, small development projects. So there are a number of ways, and of course, I have already mentioned about the economic cooperation. So my task here is, fortunately, not to address which, because there are no major political issues, there are no issues of that type, of that nature, which require to be addressed politically. My task is to strengthen this relationship in the constructive engagement, whether it is cultural, economic, or in defense and security.
Yeah. So one final question, and I'm not going to ask you anything about the Tamil issue or the Tamil politicians may not have been able to meet you so far. You're new to the post at the moment, at least, although you're aware of the issue. But given that Sri Lanka had this major terrorist attack last year, some kind of intelligence cooperation, intelligence sharing, and of course the defense, cooperation between India and Sri Lanka. On that aspect, if you can throw some light, how are we working on that? Because defense, I know there has been a good cooperation and good relationship, but on intelligence, if there is anything new that you can share.
Well, I would only say that last year's terrorist attack was a very grim reminder uh, of the type of challenges that we continue to face in our own country and in our neighborhood. So, but the good thing is that not only India and Sri Lanka, but also Maldives, which is another very close maritime neighbor, we all the three of us are addressing this challenge with very intense cooperation uh, wherever it is required. We our concerned officials, our people are engaged, they are in touch. I unfortunately won't be able to go into details, but suffice to say that the aspect of terrorism has a number of things, which is radicalization, financing, and drug laundering, etc., arms, etc. And therefore, it is important to cooperate in our region, and all of us, India and Sri Lanka, and as I mentioned, even Maldives, the three of us are working to very closely to address this challenge. As far as defense cooperation is concerned, there is a very good cooperation again over there between India and Sri Lanka in training, in military exercises, and also in terms of building on this relationship in the defense sphere that we have. There are a number of areas in which we are cooperating. Our naval chief had visited in the recent past, and there are exercises which are planned for this year. We will see how they go, and I'm very hopeful that after the travel situations ease, we will be receiving more Sri Lankan officers in our training institutions, and we can even look at increasing their numbers in certain areas where there is requirement of the Sri Lankan forces, as well as there is also the related areas in terms of enhancing the skills in the areas that they require, English or computers, and we have been engaged with the Sri Lankan government in that aspect as well. So this is an area which is of great importance to the two countries, and I would just towards the end here in this aspect I would like to add that the Indian Navy in particular and Indian the three services uh, have now in the recent past we have seen them in a humanitarian role. The INS ship which I mentioned, Jalashwa, is the same ship which will be coming here tomorrow and leaving day after. It is the same ship which had come here at the time of flood relief in 2017 and had docked at the same place where it will be docking tomorrow. And whether it is flood relief, whether it is requirement of medicine, you would recall that when I came here, I actually accompanied the medical consignment which came aboard an Illusion 76 aircraft of the Indian Air Force. So, being our nearest neighbor, India has responded, has been the first responder in many of the difficulties of our neighbors, whether it is Nepal or Maldives or Sri Lanka. And in this role, we are very proud and we are very happy that our armed forces have chipped in. They have chipped in very significantly, like they do back home. Similarly, they have done this in respect of our neighbors, our friends, and partners.
Great to know that, Gopal Baglay. I think you have your base already established, and you to just build on it as you mentioned yourself. I wish you all the best for your tenure, which is just beginning, and hope to be in touch once more. But if there's anything we can do from our side, we are always here to report and cover the bilateral aspects of India-Sri Lanka relationship. Thank you very much for your time, and we
Welcome.
will come back to you in some time again. Thank you.
Thank you. I would only say visit Sri Lanka when it is normalized and when you wish to visit. You always have a very welcoming home here, which is the Indian.
Thank you so much. Thank you.